All right, hello, and welcome back to the In the Cut podcast. Here with your main man, Caleb Carter, and we have a special guest today, Mr. Gary Washburn. Before you speak, Gary, I do want to give you a formal introduction so the people that know at home know who they're listening to. You've been a writer for the Baltimore Orioles, for the currently now for the Boston Celtics. You wrote for the Seattle Post, for the Contra Costa Times. The list goes on. Storied sports writer in the industry. So, Gary, I definitely want to thank you again for just joining me here today.
Oh, good to be here. Good to be here, and looking forward to the discussion.
Absolutely. Um, so I want to get right into it because this one has become a little bit unavoidable if you're somewhat tapped into the basketball world. Luka to the Lakers. What are those who are in the know, like yourself, making about this trade?
Well, obviously, Caleb, a shocker for everybody. I don't know any reporter, anybody who's tuned in and locked in to the NBA who saw this coming, and it's just one of those situations where uh, it was done under wraps, behind closed doors, in the dark, all the terms you want to use
Mm-hmm.
to keep it secret. And suddenly, Luka was a Laker, and I think it's probably a difference in philosophy between Luka and his team and general manager Nico Harrison in Dallas. I feel like they felt like they may have reached their peak last year, reaching the finals. They lost to the Celtics in 5 games last year. The series really wasn't Luka's fault.
Yeah.
But you're also talking about a player who struggles on defense. Not
Mm-hmm.
every great player is a great defender. We would all love for all our favorite players to be, great two-way players. That just isn't the case, and it's never been the case in the NBA where every great player is a great defender.
Mm-hmm.
There's guys who are occasional defenders, guys who defend when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of the playoffs, other guys who just try, and other guys who don't try. They'll do a little bit, but they want to save all their energy for the offensive side. And I think Luka had a lot of, like, he's a generational player. He's a player that, if you're a basketball fan and you just mention one name, you say Luka, you know who you're talking about,
Yep.
Uh, and he's a guy who averaged 34, damn near 10 and 10 last year.
Yeah.
And he's 5-time All NBA first team, and he's only 25 years old.
Yeah.
There's so much to like about Luka. There's so much to love about the guy because he's so entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Slovenian dude with a mean streak, with swag, who will talk mess to anybody. He's not afraid of anybody. This league is filled with guys who are fearless. But when you see a guy from a country you couldn't even point out on a map come over to this country, we really didn't know when he was in the draft. You know, the thing is, we didn't know a lot about Luka in 2018. We know it was Luka and it was Trey Young,
Yeah.
Marvin Bagley coming out of Duke. People thought he would be a real star.
Yeah.
DeAndre Ayton,
Mm-hmm.
who's now in Portland, was kind of the number one overall pick. I mean,
Yep.
if you were to draft again, you would take Luka. The Phoenix Suns would have taken
Easily.
Luka, right?
Yep.
And then Trey would have been number two. Sacramento passed both of them to take Marvin Bagley. You see how
Yep.
that worked out. That was not a good draft for them.
Yeah.
Uh, but for him to not only live up to all the expectations, but to exceed them, because
Oh
we
yeah.
didn't know. We've seen guys in the recent year, Dragon Bender, who didn't last long in the league, Dante Exum, these mystery guys who come into the league that we don't see, who might have been playing professional basketball since they were 14 and 15 years old, come into the draft. You're like, well, how are they going to work out? Are they going to be a
Yeah.
star? Are they going to be a role player? Are they going to be back in Europe in the 3 or 4 years? Well,
Mm-hmm.
Luka exceeded everybody's expectations. No one could have predicted this kind of success for Luka. Nobody. Not the Mavericks. Nobody. The Mavericks had to be doing backflips when they turned out to see how good this kid was.
Yeah.
Uh, so when you trade a generational talent, it's going to be shocking, and we'll maybe find out down the road the reasons besides his quote unquote lack of conditioning. So to me, I was shocked. But obviously, I think it might have been a power struggle between his team and Nico Harrison. When you have a player of his ilk, of his skill set, he kind of, in many ways, like LeBron did in Cleveland, and Dwayne Wade in Miami, he kind of runs the organization in some senses. He brings his team on. He has his guys that travel with him. He's, hey, I need my mama to have this. I need my
Mm-hmm.
friends to have that. I need tickets in this section.
Yep.
That's what you do to your star players. You're not doing that to the 12th man. You're doing
Yeah.
that to your premium players. Okay, my father needs tickets to every game, and he needs 2 tickets to every game, and he needs all access to the club, to the M Club, where he can get drinks and have like all that. You
Yeah.
set that up. Maybe there was a power struggle where maybe Nico Harrison looked and said, "This dude has too much power. We need to change this. We need to change the complexion of our organization and become more of a defensive team as opposed to being so reliant on one player." Because Luka was leading the team in rebounding, leading the team in assists, leading the team in scoring, right?
Yeah.
And so I just think it's a risky trade. I think the Lakers are ecstatic to have
Mm-hmm.
Luka. I think he'll be the next great Laker. I think LA fans should be just just I can't even put it. Should
Yeah.
be thrilled, happy, amazed,
All of that. Yep.
all that because LA's a star place. There was, Magic in the down years when Magic retired. Then it was Kobe and Shaq came in the same year. And
Yep.
then it was Kobe when Shaq left. And then it was some lean years later in Kobe's
Then
career.
you got LeBron. Yep.
Then all of a sudden they tried like Steve Nash, that didn't work. They tried Dwight Howard, that didn't work. Then they bring in Bron, who brings in AD. So
Yep.
you're still significant, even though you're not all that good. You won the bubble championship, and that still counts. But since then, it's been some lean years, some tough times, and some coach going through coaches. But now you got your next generational superstar who is international in a city that everybody knows somebody. Every country has representation in LA.
Yeah.
There's going to be a Slovenian. I'm sure there's a Slovenian community in LA
Mm-hmm.
that's going to pull out the flag and welcome him, and he's going to be eating at these great Slovenian restaurants, and
Yeah.
so he's gonna feel the love. So I think for the Lakers, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Even though it required Anthony Davis, you're thinking about the future. Like Rob Pelinka said, you are thinking about the future. You're not thinking about 2, 3. You're thinking about 10 years from now. Who do you hand the franchise to? Luka's that guy.
Yeah. I mean, and you spoke about it, and it backs up a lot of what I've heard about the trade when in regards to Luka having so much power in Dallas. It's been reported that since ever since Mark Cuban kind of gave up his ownership responsibilities, Nico Harrison kind of took the bull by the horns and said, "This is my organization." And I mean, we heard it in the press conference with Nico Harrison and Jason Kidd. He said, let's make this clear. Jason had nothing to do with this. This was my decision. It was my choice to send Luka to LA. And if I'm a Dallas fan, which I'm not, I don't understand how you can even stomach having Nico Harrison as your GM. What do you think?
Well, it's a risky move that could cost him his job eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
He could go into the Hall of Fame GMs, and there's not a Hall of Fame GM, but he could go if Dallas wins a championship or two out of this,
Yeah.
which we don't think they will, but then he goes down as the genius GM who made the risky move.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out and Luke ends up being a perennial all-star in LA, which he already has been in Dallas, he leads them to a championship. They get pieces around him because eventually LeBron's going to retire. Okay, now you got like Austin Reeves and Dalton Knecht, but you're going to need a number 2 guy. Maybe it's Knecht, who knows? Uh, you're going to need a dude who's
Yeah.
going to pair with, whether it be a big, you're going to need that guy eventually. So you either sign him or trade him or whatever you're going to do down the road. And it could cost Nico Harrison his job.
Yeah.
And I think it sounded like Nico was willing to take that risk. You got to credit him for his boldness. Maybe not for his general manager intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have an issue with Luka, maybe you find a way to work it out. Maybe you say, okay, Luka, like this is what we need from you.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we like. A personal chef. We'd like to work with this new workout guy. Uh, but you can't force a guy to be dedicated like
Yeah.
that, especially in the off season. So maybe, and it sounded like in the off season, and I don't know if you noticed, like Luka would come into shape, camp in shape. It
Mm-hmm.
would just be during the season. He's a guy we've known that likes to drink beer.
Yeah.
That's not a really good thing for a professional athlete to have a couple of beers. That's
Yeah.
not really good. Maybe on occasion, but you don't know how often he's drinking. You don't know what he's eating.
And
Obviously, the NBA player's diet, you would, on an off day, yeah, you can have a structured diet.
but Gary, I got a question for you. I mean, and you would know better than I. Is that overblown? The conditioning thing? Because hear me out. When we're talking about Luka, he just took the team to the finals, played the most minutes in the league, and he just played overseas during the Olympics for his country. So I mean, I get that, you want your guys to not maybe have the beer belly when they coming in, but obviously this guy isn't just sitting on the couch. He's playing basketball. So how much can we put into that complaint of him being out of shape?
Yeah, Caleb, I agree that if he's putting up 35, 34, 9, and 9,
Yeah.
and he's not in shape, there's a problem, right? That's what does that say about his skill set? Do you want him to be more disciplined? I'm sure,
Sure.
yes. Okay.
Yeah.
You want him to say, okay, no more beer, a more steady diet, no more late night 3 a.m. meals where I'm eating chicken wings. Like I'm in the Celtics locker room last night. Like the meal after the game was chicken wings.
Okay.
Like, okay, which these guys ate, they ate well. Is that good for you as a professional athlete? Eventually you're going to work that off in practice. You're going to, like, you got to monitor that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's all about self-discipline. The NBA is a type of league, Caleb, where the league will provide you tools to make yourself better.
Okay.
Like, let's say Bronny James, okay? Bronny James comes into the league. We can debate whether he's ready. We all know he's not. We
Mm-hmm.
all know he should still be at your school.
Yeah.
Playing, or
Right.
somewhere else. He might have transferred. He should still be playing for the Trojans. Sure, I saw they already gave away his number. There's
Yeah.
number 6 out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, they ain't mess around. Said, okay, number 6.
Next guy.
Yeah, next guy. But whether Bronny improves, it could be on his father, who will say, son, do this. But whether you improve is on your work ethic. How often do you want to be at the gym? The
Mm-hmm.
league will provide you with coaches, trainers, conditioning guys, medical people, all the stuff that you would need. It all depends on when you're 20, 21, how often do you want to be there?
Yeah.
Do you want to work that, like, Kobe wanted to live there.
Mm-hmm.
Other guys wanted to go to the club.
Yeah.
They wanted to go out. They wanted to party. They wanted to go to play video games. They wanted to be with their boys. They wanted
Mm-hmm.
to be with the girls and they wanted to date, hang out, party. Like, the league will provide you a platform to improve, but it's on you as a grown man to determine whether you're going to do that. And I just think for Luka, they can provide for him everything he needs, but it's up to him to say, okay, I want to take advantage of this.
Yeah.
Or I think I'm fine. Look at my numbers. What are you talking about? And
Yeah.
I just think there was a confusion. And honestly, there are certain guys we've known, Kevin Love
Mm-hmm.
or Jokic
Yeah.
or Luka, Embiid, who are not are not
It-
cut. Jokic is not a dude who's going to be on the cover of Men's Health. He's not going to be.
right.
He's not going to be the weightlifting. He ain't got no muscle cut. He ain't got no
Yeah.
cut. He's not chiseled at all.
Mm-hmm.
But is he in great, amazing shape? No. But is he in great enough shape to be the best player in the world? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody can look like Giannis,
Yeah.
right? And I just think sometimes most teams can accept that. Hey, if you're getting it done on the floor, you're not tapping out of games because you can't breathe. You're like, you know, if you can do this and you can stay at your 260, although we'd like for you to be 242
Yeah.
and you were 260, then it's okay. So the question is whether the Mavericks were like, no, 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 we need you at this. And he was like, no, I'm good at 260. I don't
Mm-hmm.
need to be 240.
Yeah.
And then the durability, the lack of defense. I mean, you could nitpick. You
Yeah.
can nitpick most everybody's game. You can say, Giannis never picked up a mid-range game. There's still not a great free throw shoot. Every
Yeah.
superstar
As a whole.
there's very few, and those why even LeBron was not a great shooter in his first 6-7 years in the league.
Yeah.
He was not a great mid-range shooter. He learned that. He improved. When you get these guys that come into the league at 19, very few of them are polished where they have complete games.
Mm-hmm.
They D up. They can hit threes. They hit the mid. Most of them have to improve. A guy from who's when I grew up, Karl Malone. Karl Malone, big, massive man, mammoth NBA body, didn't know how to do the pick and roll. Couldn't shoot off the pick and roll.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, he became one of the best pick and roll players of all time with John Stockton because he could hit that 20-footer. The same
Yeah.
with Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett, the pick and pop, that was his game eventually. But it took 7-8 years. It took him thousands of shots a day for him to become that guy.
Yeah.
So to ask a 25-year-old to be completely blemished player is really hard. Now,
Yeah.
can you ask him to play harder on defense? Yes.
Sure.
Now, if he's tapping out of games, if he's like, I can't breathe, I'm just gonna let this. I'm not gonna run back on this fast break because I can't make it. Then there's a problem.
Yeah.
And I just think there's certain athletes that eventually aren't in premium condition, but they still get it done. And eventually, there's some guys, Caleb, who get in better condition as they get older because they know they want to stay around long enough. They lose that 25 pounds they should have lost earlier. But when they're 30, they lose that because they know, like, I can't be this at 32 as I was at 23, where
Yeah.
metabolism was higher and I could burn it off. Now I got to get in, like, I got to literally change my whole conditioning routine.
Yeah.
So it's a delicate topic to talk about somebody's shape when they put up those types of numbers and point to them and say it's your fault
Right.
we didn't win the final. Like, no, I covered the finals. It wasn't Luka's fault. It was
The
PJ Washington
Celtics.
didn't step up. Kyrie didn't step up.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody stepped up to help Luka. And Luka was defended well by Jaylen Brown. He still had 29, like 8 and 8. It wasn't like
And
amazing. He didn't have a 50-point game, but he
yeah.
still did enough.
And,
So the point and say it was his fault is not true.
yeah, and I mean the Celtics last year were really just a dominant team. I mean, they basically ran through the league. You almost kind of knew that it was their time because they had always been kind of knocking on the door. And that kind of makes me want to switch gears here to talk about another young guy that you cover all the time. I mean, you're around him all the time, Jayson Tatum. Here's the here's what gets me about Jayson Tatum, and I want you to kind of give me some insight, give the listeners some insight on this because Jayson Tatum, I feel like, may be one of the most disrespected players in the league. I mean, just think about it. Your first year in the league, 2017, 2018, you're supposed to be the third guy, right? Because you have Gordon Hayward, you get Kyrie, both of them go down, and you still somehow make a way to go to Game 7 against LeBron and the Cavs. Fast forward, you're always consistent. You improve your defense. Now, I mean, you make a finals in 2022. You lose to the Warriors, but then you win that ring. You get to the Olympics, and you somehow can't get playing time because of fit. What is the how does Jayson Tatum kind of deal with that from what you've seen? How does his team kind of balance what the media narrative has become?
Well, I think with Jayson, I think he feels underappreciated and disrespected in a sense. And a lot of times that's how these guys feel themselves by, even Michael Jordan said, came up with a group of haters who didn't exist and said, "Oh, y'all hating on me? Okay. He played the Washington Wizards or the Bullets back then, and look at some dude. Oh, you guard. Oh, you don't like me? You think I'm
Mm-hmm.
trash? Oh, I'm gonna score 50 on you." I'm like,
Yeah.
Kobe would do the same thing. So you develop resistance because you want to make yourself better. You want to sharpen your iron as opposed to thinking, "Oh, everybody loves me." Um, so Jayson definitely understands he has detractors. He has people who don't think the world of him, and he found out at the Olympics. Unfortunately for him, tough time for him because I think he feels like, "Hey, I'm a top 5 player.
Mm-hmm.
I should be out there uh, playing." But also, I think in the Olympic situation, Caleb, you're talking about Steph Curry's got to play,
Yeah.
Kevin Durant's got to play, and
It was tough.
LeBron James has got to play.
Yeah.
So at best, you're the fourth option.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Kerr he had a great affinity for Devin Booker and Drew Holiday and Derek White.
Mm-hmm.
So those are his 6, in addition to guys like Anthony Edwards, Bam Adebayo, whatever.
Yeah.
So Jayson did not do the best with the limited minutes that he had. He didn't shoot the ball well at the Olympics. He just wasn't himself. He was kind of thinking too much. I've seen Jayson all the way since he started in this league, and I know when he's thinking. And he was thinking too much. That affected his offense, affected his approach, and then it affected his playing time. Uh, I do think he's disrespected, uh, but I have seen the development and the growth of his game over the years where he was a polished. He came into the league from Duke as a polished scorer.
Yeah.
He had step back. He was a lot like Kobe, and sometimes tried to be too much like Kobe, creating himself difficult shot. Like, don't do that. That's Kobe's game. Like
Yeah.
the triple spin, step back, and 3 dudes in your face. Like that's like you want to be Kobe, you're not ready to be Kobe yet.
Yeah.
But he has developed into a great all around player, a plus defender, a good distributor, a good rebounder. So he just has to accept victory as his success, winning a championship, getting to the finals. Uh, can he be better? Yeah, he's going to be 27 next month, so he's still entering his prime,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's still entering his prime years. Uh, but I do think there's people that look at him and go, "Well, you're not, you know, I take Anthony Edwards over him."
Yeah.
No,
And
yeah. Oh, go
question.
ahead.
I mean, because I might be one of those people. And I can't necessarily even say that I have a valid argument as to why I would take Ant over Jayson.
Ant's more dynamic. Ant will dunk on you.
Yeah.
Ant talks mess. Jayson goes about his way. Jayson don't get in your face a lot. Jayson doesn't talk a lot. Jayson just does it and runs back down the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Jayson is a better overall player than Ant. I'm talking about like distributing,
Yeah.
assist, making the right basketball
Yeah.
play. That's what Jayson has learned over the years. It ain't all about dropping 30. It's about making the right assist when you're trapped, pass to the open man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that LeBron popularized because LeBron got a lot of heat in his mid to early career
Oh
for
yeah.
making the right basketball play. There's an
Yeah.
infamous play when he was in Cleveland. He got doubled in Detroit. He threw the ball to Danielle Marshall for an open 3. Danielle Marshall missed it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody said, "Damn, LeBron, you should have taken that damn shot. I don't care who was guarding you. You should have taken 3 dudes to the rack and dunked on them.
Yeah.
Why are you passing to a dude who's got half your talent?" And so, but that has become less of a narrative nowadays in where we honestly where uh fantasy basketball has become more popular to where now you look at assists, you
Mm-hmm.
look at rebounds, you look at little things that when I was growing up, it was all about scoring
Yeah.
and rebounding. Assists were like good, but that was the point guard. Your forward was like, "You scoring? What's up? You scoring and rebounding. That's what you do.
Yeah.
You don't got to be a great passer." Magic was a point guard. Magic was the passer. The point
Mm-hmm.
guard was the guy who. Now the point forward position was revolutionized by guys like Scottie Pippen, and now fans appreciate passing more. They appreciate assists. They appreciate the hockey assists. They appreciate the little idiosyncrasies in the game that our generation might have ignored or didn't know a lot about.
Yeah.
So Tatum has turned himself into a great all-around player, but he doesn't talk much. He's not going to dunk on you and then, flex. Like, that's not him. So people are going to say, yeah, I'll take Ant-Man over here because he'll drop 50. Now,
Yeah.
Jason's had a 50-point games. He's had a
Yeah. In the
60-point game.
playoffs.
But for whatever reason, he doesn't show it, the emotion. And so fans take to the people who are more demonstrative, more badass. Jason gets Jason don't get into fights. Jason ain't talking, you don't see him talking mess. Like, man, I'll bust your ass. Like, he's not doing that. He just goes about his next play. So I think, and then I just think people are, his finals against Golden State, Andrew Wiggins got the best of him. Just straight up. Like, Draymond Green said, hey, make him go left, make him go left, make him go left. Like, that was their strategy, and Jason struggled. Jaylen Brown was the best Celtic player in those finals.
Yeah.
So I think Jason never is still trying to live that down. When you have a bad series, and you have a terrible series, but not a great series on the spotlight, people are going to remember that. And they remember Andrew Wiggins shutting him down. They remember them having a chance to really take a control of that series. They're up 2-1. They're up in the fourth quarter, and they blew that game. Curry went nuts, and the Celtics didn't win another game in that series. They lost the last 3 games of that series. So I think, and then the next year they lost, to underdog Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think Jason has taken a lot of that. Now the finals got the monkey off his back.
Yeah.
But there's still people, who look at him and go, yeah, you top 10, but man, you ain't top 5.
Yeah.
So you look and you're like, well, do you try to prove them wrong or just keep doing what you're doing and keep winning?
Yeah. Is the decline of the NBA overblown? Because, right, for me personally, I'll say my love for the NBA has slightly faded, but it's not for the reasons that other people have said. People will point to the 3-point shot. I mean, I don't necessarily care too much about that. Even when I go to games, I haven't noticed that it hasn't become that much of a problem for me. I mean, but that's just me. Adam Silver came out and said that the quarters need to be shortened to 10 minutes. I don't see the reasoning for that. For me, I think it is a lack of star power, or at least guys you can buy into. Speaking of Jayson Tatum, he's hard to sell because he isn't as expressive as you would want him to be. I mean, so what do you think about, the quote unquote decline of the league?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's overblown in a sense, and I just think you don't have a lot of, like, the question is how much do you um love the game? Like, I think there's a lot of casual fans who
Sure.
want to see slam dunks, who want to see uh trash talk. They want to see Shaq. They
Yeah.
want to see they want to see KG. They want to see the dudes who were like, they want to see some physicals. They want to see some elbows. They want to see the NBAs from the 90s and 2000s. Unfortunately, you have the NBA of 2025, 24. So you have 7-footers taking threes. You have 5 outs. You have the culture of the game has changed all through NBA, college, high school, AAU. You got to be able to shoot the three. And I think it's been a little too much of the 3-point shot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go and see dudes like Patrick Williams from the Bulls taking 7 or 8 threes in the game. That's not entertaining to me.
Yeah.
You don't want to see some of these guys launching threes because they're open. You want to see the physicality. You want to see the artistic part of the game. You want to see guys doing acrobatic layups. You want to see guys going at it. You don't necessarily want to see dudes signing each other's jerseys and doing shoe swaps and jersey swaps after the game. What the NBA was a league where, I mean, basketball is a natural trash talking game. You can go on to the, you can play up at the rec center at SC. You can go. There's going to be dudes talking mess to each other on the court.
Yeah.
You don't do that generally in baseball. You don't talk. But with basketball, it's a natural trash talking sport. It's a natural bravado sport, and I just think that the league has kind of lost that. Everybody's buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a damn podcast.
Yeah.
These dudes are having each other. To me, I don't want to see Paul George injured injured instead of rehabbing doing his podcast.
Yeah.
I think that's a turn off to fans. I think the low management's a turn off to fans. You go to your game, I'm paying for my family 3 or 4 people to go see my favorite player or my son's favorite player, and that dude's sitting out.
Mm-hmm.
And then the players, I think what turns fans off is a lot of these players don't seem to trip about missing games.
Yeah.
These dudes are on the sideline, kicking it, talking mess in their, straight up, $500 hoodies.
Yeah.
Like they ain't work, like you're not playing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't that bother you? Are you good just chilling?
Yeah.
Like, I just think that's what bothers NBA fans. It's
Yeah.
like, go out there and do your job.
Yeah.
Be
And
available.
yeah.
And that's as much as more than 3-pointers. I think the load management and dudes like, it's an 82 game season. I'm good for about 60.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the 65 game rule came out, and you had guys complaining.
Yeah.
That's when you kind of knew it was a problem. I mean, and we gotta have to wrap things up pretty quickly. I'm looking at the time, but to your point of the load management, I love Joel Embiid. I love his game. I think I grew up in Houston. He reminds me of Hakeem.
Yeah.
But I'd be lying if I said when the Sixers and the Nuggets are playing, Joel Embiid is not playing. I'd be lying if I said I like that.
Yeah.
It makes me upset when you have the 2 best centers in the league. They should be going head to head, and one of them is just not there.
Yeah.
But I do want to give you some time to talk about this book that you have coming out. It's Boston Celtics, or it's already out. Excuse me.
It's already out. Yeah.
Boston Celtics and Illustrated Timeline. Talk about that and kind of what you cover in that.
Yeah. I got an exit copy here. So this is the book.
Okay, there we go.
It's a hardback cover. Now, people like, I grew up in Los Angeles, born and raised. I grew up a big Laker fan. Not as much anymore that I cover the NBA. The fandom, you kind of leave that at home. It's like anything else, when you get older, you change a little bit. But I've covered the Boston Celtics now for 15 years, and I had the opportunity to do a book on the history of the Celtics. So this is the top 176 moments of the Celtics franchise with photos and some of the greatest moments.
Nice.
And I write about those moments, so it's a really neat thing. And if you're a Celtic fan or an NBA fan, you want to learn about the league's history. And the Celtics have made a lot of history. Not only, well, you want to talk about beating the Lakers, but no, they had the first black coach, the first black starting 5. I mean, historical things that I think a lot of people don't know about in terms of the history of the league. We consider the NBA now mostly black league, which it is, but there was a time where the NBA was not such a black league that having there was a kind of gentleman's agreement amongst owners that you would always have a white person in your starting 5 in the 1960s. The Celtics broke that. They had a black starting 5 in 1965. So just history of the organization all the way through 1946 when they started, all the way to championship in 2024. For you Laker fans, I know it's hard, but I talk about a lot of those series because I grew up a Laker fan. I grew up to hate the Celtics. So I did not know all the amazing games that these 2 teams had. Unfortunately, for the Lakers, they came out a lot on the short end of those games with Elgin Baylor and Jerry West. And I tried to school Celtic fans and fans in general on the history of some of the great players and some of the great games. And so it's an educational book for me. If I was a young basketball fan, I wanted to learn, I would buy it, not because I just wrote it, not toot my horn, but I just think it was a lot because I learned in the research studying the team before I was Kings before I was born and looking at old YouTube video because nowadays, unfortunately, with the NBA, Caleb, if you look at with the Super Bowl coming up, right?
Yeah.
If you said, "Hey man, I want to look at every Super Bowl game from Super Bowl one in 1967 in
Mm-hmm.
LA Coliseum all the way until last year Kansas City, San Francisco," you can probably go on YouTube and watch every game if you were inclined to the full game because the NFL did this great job historically keeping up with the history of the game. And so they put everything on film
Yeah.
starting in like the 60s. Some of those
Mm-hmm.
games are literally, you can watch, if not the whole game, you can watch highlights or whatever from the first Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
All the way until, shoot, last year and leading up to this one. The NBA, not so much. If I wanted to watch a tape on the 1968 NBA Finals, I got to patch things together, look at highlights, things like that. So unfortunately, the NBA, you know, didn't do as much to appreciate the old heads, the Dr. J's, the Bill Russells, the Wilt Chamberlains. We talk about Wilt Chamberlain like, oh, he scored 100 points in the game. But what this book does, and a lot of books coming out, is describe the history of the league before Michael Jordan came along, before
Yeah.
Dr. J, like, because it was a league that was still great. It was growing. And, they played hard. They played in the Chuck Taylors and the facilities weren't great, and they weren't wearing the undershorts under their trunks, and they weren't
Mm-hmm.
wearing the state of the art stuff, and they weren't, there wasn't none of that stuff. They was going out there and playing and getting cut and still playing. So what I try to do in this book is just describe to fans some of the great moments and players in Celtic history, and I hope the fans enjoy it. And it's even for basketball fans, not just Celtic fans.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't like the Celtics, like if I see a history of the Detroit Pistons, I'm gonna read it because there's guys in the Pistons I actually like,
Yeah.
and and so I just think it's a book for everyone. So if you can, fan listeners,
Definitely.
try to check it out. It's called the
Definitely.
Boston Celtics Illustrated Timeline.
Definitely. The Boston Celtics, the illustrated timeline. Definitely gonna have to check it out. Because you think about it, they really did lay the foundation for what we have today. We already know about the Russell dynasty, the Cousy times. We talk about Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, all that before what we have today. But Gary, I do want to say thank you once again, and I really mean that because you didn't have to do this. Thank you for giving us your time. Definitely appreciate having you on.
Oh, anytime, anytime. Appreciate you having me, and it was a good conversation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you again. And thank you for listening to the In the Cut podcast. We out of here.